man. Stop
Do
pulling.
not touch me!
Where's the key,
Sir, I know he's got it.
Get your leg out. Now.
Cops are often faced with the unexpected, navigating the unpredictable nature of their job with courage and resilience. They respond to routine calls, conduct investigations, and maintain public safety. But what happens when officers stumble upon something truly unexpected and disturbing during their duties? Starting with a case of a woman who was locked with a chain around her neck. Moses May, Louisville, Kentucky, August 16, 2023. In Louisville, Kentucky, at around 7 p.m. on the city's south side, the neighbors called the police after hearing a woman screaming. Responding officers arrived to find the first floor of the house barricaded, with all doors and windows blocked. However, they noticed a second-floor window open, which had been kicked out by the victim, 37-year-old Jonna Wilson. Desperate for help, Wilson screamed through the broken window, alerting the officers to her dire situation.
Put the door down? Yeah. I got a bunch of loose.
The officers used a ladder found outside the home to reach the second-floor window. Upon climbing to the top, they found Wilson in a state of distress, crying and wearing a chain collar with a padlock around her neck. The chain was attached to a bolt in the floor, immobilizing her. The officers immediately began to free her, using a hatchet to break the chain connected to the bolt. She had been held captive for approximately 5 hours before her screams attracted the attention of the neighbors and led to her rescue. Once safely outside, they used hedge clippers to remove the collar from her neck entirely. Wilson, though visibly shaken, cooperated with the officers to provide details about May and his vehicle. 2 days after the incident, police apprehended Moses May. He was charged with multiple serious offenses, including kidnapping, wanton endangerment, and assault. But wait for this next case where 21 years old turned simple traffic stop in felony. Rebecca, Florida, February 20th, 2023. A routine traffic stop turned into an unexpected, intense encounter when an officer pulled over a vehicle for a partially covered license plate. The officer, after running the vehicle's tag, discovered that the driver's license had been permanently revoked. As the officer approached the vehicle, he informed the driver, a woman identified as Rebecca, that her traffic stop was being recorded. He requested her driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance. Rebecca, who seemed taken aback, claimed that she did not have her ID on her, but insisted that the vehicle was hers. The officer then informed her that her driving privileges were not just suspended, but completely revoked, a fact Rebecca appeared to dispute. Rebecca attempted to argue with the officer, denying that her license was suspended and demanding to know the reason behind this assertion.
Alright, the Deputy Monitor Sheriff's Office letting you know traffic stop is being video and other recorded. Okay, you have your driver's license, registration, for insurance?
I don't have my ID.
You don't have your ID? Rebecca, you're on the car, correct?
Yes, I do. It's my vehicle.
Okay. Are your license suspended?
License is suspended.
Yes. Your license was cancelled because you failed to take it last time you were supposed to take it.
No, it's not.
Are you? Let me see your registration for insurance. That expired. You have any insurance card?
No, that's it.
This
Hey,
the one?
Where are you at?
Any proof of insurance or else?
That is all I have.
Your car is about to be towed if I don't have proof of insurance.
Where are you at? Can you please come? I need you to load your boat up and come. I'm about to get arrested. Apparently my suspended. My tag and license.
The officer explained that her license had been canceled due to her failure to take a required course. Despite his efforts to clarify the situation, Rebecca became increasingly agitated, refusing to comply with the officer's request for her registration and insurance information. The situation grew more tense as Rebecca called someone on the phone, asking for help and insisting that her car should not be towed. She appeared to be under significant stress, repeatedly stating that she had no reason to step out of her vehicle. The officer, maintaining his composure, insisted that Rebecca step out of the car, informing her that it was not a request, but a lawful order.
No, he ain't fucking towing my car. He is not towing my car. Robbing her license and drive it back to the house.
Alright, ma'am, step out of the car.
I'm not stepping out of the vehicle.
Step out of the car. It's
For what
not a
reason?
request. It's
For
an
what
order.
reason?
Tell me I know you.
I'm not listening. There is no goddamn reason for me to get out of my goddamn car.
You're under arrest. Get out of the car.
No,
Get out.
I'm under arrest. Can you come get me for no reason? Record.
Don't.
Do not touch me.
Ma'am, stop
Do
pulling.
not touch me.
Pulling from me.
Ryan, come get me. What the?
I don't.
Ryan, no.
I
Record
don't.
this.
It's-
Record this.
Everything's recorded.
Come on. There's no reason
Stop
for this.
resisting.
Sorry, piece
You
of
stay there,
shit.
you'll be arrested. Okay?
That's
She's
it.
got to chill. She's got to chill. Stop, or you're gonna be thrown on the ground. Stop it.
Let me go.
No, you're under arrest.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
You break my you sorry piece of fucking punch you.
Rebecca, however, remained defiant, refusing to exit the vehicle and becoming increasingly hostile. As the officer attempted to enforce the law, Rebecca's resistance escalated. She verbally lashed out, threatening the officer and refusing to cooperate. The situation deteriorated further when Rebecca physically resisted the officer's attempts to remove her from the vehicle. Despite her aggressive behavior, the officer remained focused, informing her that her actions were now leading to additional charges, including resisting arrest and making threats against a law enforcement officer. After a struggle, Rebecca was finally pulled from the car and placed under arrest. Her defiance continued, with her verbally abusing the officer and threatening to physically harm him. The officer calmly informed her that these threats were a felony, thus upgrading her misdemeanor charge of resisting arrest to a more severe offense.
You put yourself in this situation, not me.
There's no reason for this. What am I being arrested for?
Resisting arrest without violence. Okay?
For what?
Not stepping out of the car when I told you to do so.
This is my vehicle. I don't have to.
Yes, you do.
No, I do not.
Oh, you want to learn? Anything illegal on you?
No, don't touch me. You are not.
Am I patting you?
You are not a woman.
I don't have to be a woman.
I will scream it.
You scream all you want. I told you everything's being recorded.
Once Rebecca was secured in the back of the police vehicle, the officer discussed the situation with another individual who had arrived at the scene, possibly a relative or friend of Rebecca. The officer explained that the entire situation could have been avoided if Rebecca had simply complied with his requests. He mentioned that her license had been suspended due to her failure to attend a required class, which would have resulted in just a traffic ticket if she had cooperated. The officer also addressed the issue of the vehicle's insurance. He informed the person at the scene that driving without insurance was a criminal offense in the state of Florida and that the car could not legally remain on the road without proper coverage. He offered a solution, allowing the vehicle to be parked at a nearby gas station until insurance was arranged, thus avoiding the need for towing. As the situation settled, the officer expressed his frustration with how Rebecca had escalated a routine traffic stop into a full-blown arrest. He noted that everything had been recorded, ensuring transparency in the encounter. Despite Rebecca's aggressive behavior, the officer refrained from using excessive force, instead choosing to handle the situation with measured authority. Rebecca's actions during the traffic stop resulted in a series of charges. Initially, she was pulled over for having a partially covered license plate, which led to the discovery of her permanently revoked driving privileges. Her refusal to comply with the officer's orders escalated the situation, leading to charges of resisting arrest without violence. However, her verbal threats against the officer during the arrest added a felony charge to her record. If you thought that was bad, this is because you didn't know about this case where a Walmart thief makes the worst decision, Orlando, Florida, April 16, 2022. A routine police encounter outside a Walmart in Orlando, Florida, turned into a tense situation. Officers were responding to a shoplifting report when they spotted the suspect, a woman attempting to leave the store and enter her vehicle. The confrontation escalated quickly as the police tried to detain her. The officers instructed the woman to park her car and step out, but she resisted, insisting that she had not stolen anything and that the items in question were her own. She repeatedly claimed that her son was undergoing surgery at a nearby medical center and that she needed to leave immediately to be with him. Despite her insistence, the officers remained firm, asking her to cooperate and emphasizing that they would sort everything out once she complied.
Okay. My son's in surgery right now and I have to go.
That's great. Pull it in and park it. We'll figure it out.
Okay, the Orlando Surgery Center.
That's okay. Pull your car in and park it. We'll figure it out.
I came in with, you can even ask the auto, I came in with the
I'm 75%.
school bag.
We'll figure it out between me and you and the loss prevention officer here, right? All right?
Okay, well everything was left right there. I was coming out to get my wallet.
Okay, we'll figure it out. I promise we'll figure it out.
Time.
Right now we're making time, because he just said you shoplifted.
I didn't shoplift, but I came right here. I put the stuff right here at the door.
As the encounter continued, the woman refused to exit the vehicle, even after multiple warnings from the officers. She argued that the merchandise in her possession had not passed the point of sale, and that she had left everything at the store's entrance while she retrieved her wallet from her car. The officers, however, informed her that based on the store's report and her actions, she was being detained on the suspicion of shoplifting. When the woman still refused to cooperate, the situation escalated further. The officers repeatedly asked her to turn off her vehicle, step out, and follow their instructions. She continued to argue, rolling up her window and locking herself inside the car. At this point, the officers made the decision to arrest her, citing her refusal to comply as resisting arrest.
I just had my son who had surgery.
Turn off.
Hey,
Stop.
don't.
Stop.
Stop resisting.
Stop. I'm not resisting.
You are resisting.
I'm not.
Get out of the vehicle right now.
I'm not resisting. I'm not resisting.
Get out of the car.
I'm not resisting.
Out of
at
the car.
all.
Now. Let's go.
You're going to catch a charge if you just get out of the car.
I don't understand why.
Get out of the car.
We're not
Come
talking
on.
about it
Wait,
anymore.
can I
Get out
roll
of the
my
car.
window?
Get out.
I'm rolling my window up. That's it. I'm just
We
rolling
will
my
do
window
that
up.
for you in a minute.
I'm rolling my window up. That's it.
Take
I'm
the
just-
key out of the ignition.
I'm just rolling my window
Take-
up. Roll the window up for me.
Get out of the
That's
car.
it. That's
We
it.
will.
Just
Get
roll
out of the
window
car.
up.
Nope.
Just roll the window up for me. That's
Get
all
out
I'm
of
I
the
will
asking
car.
roll it up.
for.
I will roll it up. I promise.
Okay, roll it up now.
Get out of the
please.
car.
Slap out the car. We'll roll it up.
Okay, roll it up now, please.
Get out of the car.
Okay. That's all I'm asking is to roll up the window.
Despite the woman's protests and attempts to explain her side of the story, the officers forcibly removed her from the vehicle. She continued to resist, leading to a physical struggle during which the officers warned her that she would be tased if she did not stop resisting. Eventually, the officers managed to subdue her and place her in handcuffs. After the woman was taken into custody, the officers conducted a search of her vehicle. Inside, they found stolen merchandise, including several items hidden in a book bag. The total value of the recovered items was approximately $1,400. Additionally, they discovered a container labeled stash that contained a white powdery substance, which raised further suspicion. The woman was transported to the Seminole County Jail, where she faced multiple charges, including shoplifting, resisting arrest without violence, and grand theft. Despite her claims of innocence and her insistence that she was not trying to steal anything, the evidence against her was substantial. The officers also noted that she was on probation for a previous shoplifting charge, which complicated her situation further. During the booking process, the woman continued to plead with the officers, asking them to let her call her son, who she claimed was recovering from surgery. However, the officers informed her that she would have to make the call from jail and that they could not allow her to use her phone at that time. The situation remained tense as the woman continued to express her distress over being unable to contact her son. Ultimately, the woman was charged with several offenses, including grand theft and resisting arrest. In court, she pleaded no contest to the charges of resisting without violence and grand theft. As a result, she was sentenced to 24 months of probation, during which she was required to comply with strict conditions to avoid further legal consequences. If you thought that case was surprising, it's because you haven't heard about this case where cops discovered 7 suspects in a home. Police discover 7 suspects, May 6, 2023. Ohio police made a startling discovery when they entered an alleged drug house following a tip-off about a man with an active warrant hiding inside. As they entered the premises, they were met with a bizarre scene, suspects attempting to evade capture by hiding in unconventional places like washing machines and attics. Their search led them to find one individual wedged inside a dryer, while others were uncovered from their hiding spots in the attic. Despite their attempts at concealment, the suspects were swiftly apprehended by the vigilant officers, who were undeterred by the creative lengths to which the criminals went to avoid arrest.
Come on. Turn around. Push your hands behind your back.
It's Jimmy. Wake up, bud. Wake up. Wake up. Can you stand back up for me, please? You're not under arrest. Just stand up for me. You really think we're that dumb? Get up. Stand up. No.
However, the search wasn't over yet. In a final twist, one last suspect was discovered, brazenly attempting to hide in plain sight. Despite his intoxicated state, he was swiftly taken into custody, adding to the growing list of individuals facing charges in connection with the drug-related activities discovered in the house. Upon further investigation, officers uncovered a cache of illegal substances, including fentanyl and cocaine, within the residence. The discovery underscored the severity of the situation and highlighted the dangers posed by drug trafficking and distribution within the community. In the aftermath of the raid, all suspects were taken into custody and now face a range of charges, with drug possession being among the most serious offenses. The swift and decisive actions of law enforcement not only resulted in the apprehension of those responsible, but also served as a powerful deterrent against future criminal activity in the area. But hold on your seats, because this next is more shocking than the others, where a man stuck in a manhole. Person trapped underground. April 15, 2023. A peculiar incident unfolded as police responded to reports of a man stuck in a manhole. Witnesses reported that the individual had been trapped underground for 3 days, sparking concern among both law enforcement and bystanders alike. Upon arrival, officers were confronted with the unsettling sight of a man stranded in the depths of the manhole. Despite their attempts to communicate with him, the man's responses were muffled and indecipherable, adding to the sense of urgency surrounding the situation. Questions swirled among the officers as they tried to piece together how the man had ended up in such a predicament. The witness who first discovered the trapped individual recounted stumbling upon the open manhole while fishing nearby. Alarmed by the moans emanating from below, he quickly alerted authorities, setting in motion a rescue operation that would test the skills and resolve of all involved. As the officers engaged in dialogue with the trapped man, it became apparent that he had been enduring his harrowing ordeal for 3 long days. Despite his dire circumstances, he remained remarkably composed, a testament to his resilience in the face of adversity. Recognizing the urgent need for medical attention, the officers swiftly coordinated with firefighters to orchestrate a rescue plan. Time was of the essence as they strategized the safest and most efficient method of extricating the man from the confines of the manhole. With the fire crew on the scene, the rescue effort kicked into high gear. Tripods were set up and meticulous preparations were made to ensure the safety of both the victim and his rescuers. Despite the challenges posed by the cramped and precarious environment, the officers remained steadfast in their determination to free the trapped man. After a painstaking effort, the fire crew successfully hoisted the man to safety, bringing an end to his agonizing ordeal. Miraculously, aside from a significant cut on his ankle, the man emerged from his underground ordeal relatively unscathed. Subsequent inquiries shed light on the circumstances surrounding the man's fateful descent into the manhole. He explained that he had been searching for a higher purpose, an elusive quest that ultimately led him to the depths of the underground labyrinth. The man was promptly transported to a nearby hospital for further evaluation and treatment, where he would receive the care and attention he desperately needed. That's all for this video. We hope you have found this video informative and interesting. Have you ever encountered or heard about a disturbing discovery made by police? Let us know in the comment section. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon for more interesting videos like this. Thank you for watching our video.